Carl and Lou here from Games, Brains and a Head-Banging Life, gbhblofficial.com for sure, and it's track by track time. As we're doing an unusual one that I'd never really considered a rock band, so to speak, beyond obviously a few tracks here and there. Because they're so commercial and because certain tracks are so overplayed, you know which ones. I kind of just always dismissed them. I was never a fan, never got into them, which is strange because I'm a huge fan of progressive experimental rock music.
Yeah.
And this album is experimental as fuck. Let's get it out of the way right now. I don't love this album. No. However, I think it's fucking genius. I think at its time, for what it was doing, was just very, very unique, very clever, very eclectic, sometimes utterly wanky, utterly stupid. But even then, I'm always a bit like, okay, what's happening here? Doesn't mean I like the track, but it kept me constantly interested.
Yeah, I think when I looked at the year of release, I was like, okay, 1988, okay, it doesn't sound like an 80s album. I know it's late 80s, but it didn't sound like that.
Right.
With some of the things they were doing, some of the, like, the sounds and effects and stuff. So there is that. I don't know, maybe I did feel like of a time and like a alt rock, surfer rock, that kind of thing.
So I would have put it earlier. I'd have put it earlier. The progressive nature of this album, I'd have put it earlier. I'd have put it a lot earlier. So it certainly stands out for that. I don't agree with the many statements you often read a line from like major magazines or things saying this is one of the greatest rock albums of all time. I think that's a bit silly. I think that's a bit silly.
I'd like to try a later album.
Oh, you don't want to do Pixies for a while now, please. Can you not? We've now done the album with the song on it. I'd really rather not go into weird territory. I know they got other hits, but let's be honest, this album has the hit.
Yeah.
You know? Surfer Rosa. We're looking at Surfer Rosa, the debut studio album of the alternative rock band Pixies, released in March 1988 on the British label 4AD. Did you spend your life calling them the Pixies?
Yes.
Yes.
I even started writing this and putting the Pixies. I looked back and went, they're not the Pixies, they're just Pixies.
Yeah, just Pixies, yeah. That's just it. It's not the first that kind of does that when people add the Pixies. Because often when you're writing, say, a sentence as well, like it's here as well, you put the word the before it because it's part of the sentence, and it's, you know, but it's not the Pixies. Yeah, just Pixies. Yeah. Okay, so it's odd all the way through. It'll be interesting to sort of see what we actually enjoy and what we don't. We kick off with Bow Machine, and I can't help myself. I've got a little joke. I've got a Bow Machine right here. Get it?
Well, no, they actually
do constantly throw out. Your machine has a little bone thing.
There's a thing in Peep Show in the sectioning episode where the Canadian girl Mary says, "Oh, my bone's got a little machine."
Presumably, it's a reference to this, right? Presumably,
I've never got that, and I'm like, that's what Mary was talking about.
Yeah, presumably, right?
A reference to that,
Immediately, the thing that stands out in this track is the drum beat. It's a very unusual style of drumming. It really stands out. And the next thing that stands out is the weirdness of the vocals in this track. It's a very eccentric listen that barely has rhythm. Like, it's not much there, but it's enjoyably weird.
I like the weird guitar intro, but I don't know about the nonsense lyrics. It was kind of like, I think it's obviously bold. It's like, this is what we're doing. Straight in with like, this is off the wall.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think it was obviously the odd pacing. I just couldn't get into it. Yes, that was me trying to get into it. Yeah, I couldn't.
Break My Body. It's still weird, but a bit more discernible here. I like the beat of this one. I find it very catchy, if not a bit repetitive.
I a bit more downbeat. I do like dual vocals on this one. So I do like Kim Deal's vocals. I prefer them to the male vocals. There's something about it, I don't know, I do prefer that. I found the guitar a little jarring at points.
Yeah.
And I put the mix just isn't right for me. So my brain isn't like...
You're not quite matching up, it's like out of sync. They're a second ahead of you and you're listening and it's watching a movie with the voices are out of sync.
Yeah, and once you start noticing it, you can't enjoy it. So,
okay.
Yeah, that's what I found.
Something Against You. And I wrote, what's this? A traditional rock number? Although it quickly dissolves into weirdness again. But keeps the main guitar riff throughout to hold it all together. It's short enough to not be annoying.
Yeah, I put at least it's short because I just found it messy.
Yeah, okay.
That's the word I use, messy.
I don't know if I agree with the word messy for this one.
I just personally found it.
Yeah.
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 Okay, Broken Face. I've got a broken face. Those lyrics and how they're in this song grates on me. A shame, as this short number is catchy and energetic.
Yeah, I found that. So it was short and quick. But yeah, no.
The overuse of the "I've got a broken face" lyrics
just,
in this really does grate on me.
And again, once you start noticing it, it's like, oh, can we have
It's
something
impossible
else?
not to notice.
Yeah, I know.
So prevalent.
Yeah.
Gigantic. I'm a fan of the moody start and bassy thrum that gives way to groovy rockiness, all while never overdoing it. The shaky psychedelic effects are really cool too. One of my favourite on the album.
So we agreed on it. This was one of my favourites on the album.
Yeah, I thought this really stood out.
Again, that's why I said I like that Kim's vocals.
Mm-hmm.
It's less messy and all over the place. It had some bit more heart to it, and I was like, oh, okay, I can kind of like see where you're going with it. So that's why I kind of enjoyed that one the most.
Yeah, it's still got the psychedelic touch and alternative edge to it, but I think this one is where you find Pixies being more commercial.
Yeah.
Where you're like, okay, we're having some fun, we're jamming, we're rocking, but this is the song we want to be a single.
Yeah.
This is the song we want on the radio.
Definitely.
This is the song we want to sell records.
Yeah.
Yeah. River Euphrates. River Euphrates. A powerful short number with undertones of psychedelia, where I can't help but admire the clashing of vocals and, of course, that drum beat.
I thought that noise throughout is annoying.
Okay.
The guitars are jarring too, so I didn't like this one at all. Just, no.
Sandwiched in between Gigantic and here it is. Where is my mind?
Yeah.
My natural, right? Check this. So when I saw this album, I was like, oh, it'd be cool to write some words about it. But I was also hugely aware that I was probably going to start it off by saying what I often say with tracks I've heard a bazillion times and are overplayed, which is, man, this one is overplayed and I never want to hear it again. Here's the thing. This track is a fucking banger. It's still a banger.
Yeah.
It's disgustingly catchy. It's so memorable, so strange, so unique, so wow. What an encapsulation. What a writing job on this song. What wondrous work they did to capture such a wonderful song with that. I mean, the part I love forever is that it's the build-up, the strumming guitar and then that drum beat. I mean, that's so powerful, so strong. And it's so good that I hear it and I automatically associate it with a movie and a scene.
Yeah.
Even though I'm hearing it in everyday life now because it's the song for Orange Cassidy in AEW wrestling.
Yeah.
I still hear it and I just hear Fight Club.
Yeah.
I just see Fight Club.
Yeah, and I think it was...
That's amazing.
Yeah, and now I realise that song came out in 1988. I'm like, really?
Wow.
Yeah, it's really weird to kind of have that place because I didn't expect this to pop up. I was like, oh, it must have been a later album.
I would have thought it was not on a debut, yeah.
Yeah, and I was like, oh, okay. And I think it just helped because it really based it in the scene, and the scene's just perfect, and the song's perfect.
Yeah.
And when you get that in a film, it stays in your mind. And when I can still listen to this song like happily now.
Yeah. I think it's got the right mix of epic, mellow, chill, unusual. But I mean, listen to the lyrics. If you feel it on the air, the head on the ground, you know, it's just unusual. That whack 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 beat, you know.
Yeah.
You know, it really is one of those where it's overplayed and beloved, but for all the right reasons.
I think as well, you're not going to hear it in a club. They're not going to play Where Is My Mind in a club.
No, you're not.
You might get in a rock pub just sitting there.
I know I've heard edited versions. That kind of don't drag out the ending part as much, but you're right. It's not one that gets played.
Yeah,
because there's not really, you can't really dance to it. You could sway to it.
Yeah.
Yeah, you know. But yeah, we'll move on. It is a great track. Cactus. I mean, as soon as I saw this, I was like, oh, the track that has to follow that, that's going to be a problem. But I like this one a lot. It has got a really nice rhythm. It's slightly groovy, a bit moody, and it's one hell of a foot tap. But I was like, shit, that's 2 bangers in a row.
Wow, we are completely
Oh, really?
I put dull and feels wanky. I'm not a fan of this.
Oh, wow, okay.
Yeah.
I was so impressed that, like, the follow Where Is My Mind, and not even that, like, the placement in the album, when you've written the songs, and you're like, okay, this is how we're going to follow that.
Yeah.
Like, incredible.
Yeah.
Tony's theme. A song about a superhero named Tony. You'll know that for sure, because it's said several times throughout. It's back to being really bloody weird, and I don't get this one. The vocals sound like shit, but it seems to be done on purpose. Like, the male vocals seem to be almost purposely done as if he's singing badly. Fun, I guess. The barking vocal bursts are kind of cool, but overall, this one is not for me at all.
No, I didn't like it. I can see where the inspiration was the Scott Pilgrim band came from.
Right.
This made me think of that band. What was
Really?
it? Yeah,
Sex Bomb.
Sex Bomb. Yeah, because it's got the female singing it, vocals in it. It really made me think of Scott Pilgrim, and that's where he wanted that band to kind of be.
I'm going to correct you here. The vocalist in Scott Pilgrim is the guitarist. She does the intro. We are Sex Bomb. 1, 2. She's the drummer.
Yeah, but this is like
Scott's the bass player.
Yes, it just made me think of that and what they were kind of trying to do.
Okay.
And Tony's theme, it felt like a song that they would do, but yeah, I didn't like it.
We do not. I do not get what you're saying there, because for me, when Scott Pilgrim's band, Sex Bomb, in the movie in that we're referencing here, they're like indie. When they kick into the song, and it was like buzzing indie crap, man. I always just made me laugh when they start playing their song. And I'm like, and Knives is like, wow, and I'm like, you fucking high.
There is that, yeah.
Oh my golly. The punk spirit in this one shines through, even if it is completely warped by Pixies' imagination and a willingness to constantly experiment. I really admire. Like, this is a point where I kind of stopped and admired and went, "Well, look, you weren't worried about selling records, doing this shit." Do you know what I mean? It's a bit too repetitive to really stand out for me, though.
There's bits I like in this one: the guitars and dual vocals, and then random talking for the end of the track. I just like that kind of just like you said, weirdness, just for the hell of it.
Yeah. Well, not even for the hell of it. I think it was just like, I get what you're saying, like, because sometimes I think this has got a very jammy session, and they were like, all right, do what you want, guys, and that's what we come out with. But like I said, I do admire the fact that this was like, we're not going to sell a single record, and it turned out to be very successful. Vamos, Surfer Rosa in brackets. The longest track in the album, at over 4 minutes, features Spanish vocals, which is a nice change up. The rhythm is all over the place. The drum beat has energy, but I did end up really struggling with this one. I wanted to like it, but it's experimentation gone wrong in my opinion. Weird for the sake of being weird.
Oh, see, I like this one. I like the different turns. I like the Spanish vocals. Yeah, I enjoyed this one.
Okay.
We are really different on this one, aren't we?
Yeah, I think we both get different things from psychedelia, progressive, and alternative. I think we often do. Whereas I can often really, really enjoy the psychedelic touch. It seems like you kind of took like the more experimental stuff.
Psychedelic's different to experimental. This is just
that's why I said that's why I referenced them as two different things.
Yeah.
I'm amazed at penultimate track. The banter at the start is pointless, and this track is far too jammy for my liking. I don't know, I feel as though the album has kind of lost the plot at this stage, and not in a good way. So at this point I was like, okay, there's not like I have to go all the way back to Cactus to find a track that I really, really thought was great. And now I'm at this point where I'm just like, okay, this is jam room shit, and jam room shit that should have been left on the cutting room floor.
Yeah, I put the exact same thing. Oh, this is just a jam session and pointless. Didn't see the point of it.
Yeah, pointless. Exactly that. Where you're like, I'm never going to listen. I am never going to listen to that track again. No, not on purpose anyway. A Brick is Red, the finale. And I am glad it's over. At this point, I was like, oh, cool. I'm glad this is the last track. Yeah. But what a track to go out on. What a cool track to go out on. I got some real dive bar vibes to this. It's really strong. It's got mellowness with good rockiness to it. It's a strong finish.
I thought so short. Not a great way to end. Just glad it was done. Yeah.
Here's the funny thing. I think we're going to end up matching up almost exactly with the top three. I think 2 out of 3 were sure to match up on. That much sure. So it seems, because we've been pretty much quite opposite beyond 2 tracks throughout. My overall opinion is, I think the experimental nature of this is what really made it stand out, and the fact that it was a willingness to push boundaries and things like that. Looking back at it now, as I said at the start, don't get why it's considered one of the greatest rock albums of all time. I find that very questionable, and I find that almost a bit like snootiness, where it's like, oh, what do you mean you don't like Pixies, Surfer Rosa? Well, you just don't get it. And it's like, no, I get it. I get it.
Yeah, it feels like a t-shirt collection. So like people would have the Stones, they'd have Nirvana, they'd have Pixies. It feels like people saying you've got to have that in your collection. That's what it feels like when people say things about certain albums. I mean, it might just be me, obviously going talking shit, but that's opinions. But I think overall when people say, oh, what do you mean you don't like that album? It's actually you don't like the Beatles, you might get sneered upon like, ugh, you don't like music then.
I like that a lot, because it's funny, because I was, for a long time, I was in expectation that you should like Pixies, but this is the first time I've ever listened to a Pixies album in full. So that's fascinating. And here's the thing, they still regularly tour, and every so often I'd see them come up and I'd be like, I should probably go and tick them off the bucket list, right? But then I was always telling myself, well, dude, you know like 3 songs, but having listened to this full album, I'm like, okay, I could go for this live. I could be very interested live.
I might enjoy it more live. Because some of it sounded like you said, like Dive Bar. Like
I think it could be a lot of fun. Put it this way, it's working. It's twisting my mind a bit. Yeah. All right, top 3 then. So one.
Gigantic, Where's My Mind, and Vamos.
Yep, there we go. As I said, it'd be 2, and the 2 are Gigantic and Where Is My Mind. The third is obviously, I raved about it during it. It's Cactus. Absolutely. There you go. Pixies, Surfer Rosa. Let us know your thoughts in the comments. Thank you very much for watching. You can check us out on gbhbl.com, as well as on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter and Tumblr. Go to Patreon and help us out over there. That's patreon.com/gbhbl, as well as Big Cartel, where you can find some of our merchandise. We have a podcast running on SoundCloud and Apple Podcasts. And of course, if you like this video, do us a favour, hit the subscribe button and help the channel grow. Games, horror and heavy metal. What else is life for? As well as on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter and Tumblr. Go to Patreon and help us out over there. That's patreon.com/gbhbl, as well as Big Cartel, where you can find some of our merchandise. We have a podcast running on SoundCloud and Apple Podcasts. And of course, if you like this video, do us a favour, hit the subscribe button and help the channel grow. Games, horror and heavy metal. What else is life for?